and welcome back to Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nasho Noano. Time for us to continue the sports conversation that I had hinted about on the first part of the show. Now, Harambee Stars have been knocked out of the World Cup qualifiers. This is after they lost to Mali 5-0 and 1-0 to Mali in home and away matches, respectively. The question is just what is going on at the Harambee Stars camp. In the past couple of years, Harambee Stars, in the past, say, the past couple of seasons or the past couple of years, Harambee Stars had a total of 7 coaches, that is, come and go. The question usually is, how do these players cope? Because you find a situation where a new coach is brought, a few weeks later or months later, this particular coach has been sacked and a new one comes into the squad. The closest example is when Jacob Ghost Mulei was appointed to the Harambee Stars a couple of months ago. And after only after playing against Rwanda, that is in Kigali, in the World Cup qualifier, and they drew 1-1. Coming back home, he was fired, and we had a coach that is an international coach coming to coach the team, basically. So the question is, what is the problem at Harambee Stars? And I'm no other person is a better place to talk about Harambee Stars and matters African football than our resident African football analyst, that is Erick Shilenje. Shilenje, welcome back to Metropole Sports Center. It's always nice having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Nation. It's been quite a while, and I'm happy to be back. It's
always nice talking matters African football to you. First things first, Harambee Stars. This past week, there was a very controversial interview that went out. Apparently,
a national team and as a country, I think that is some kind of ignorance. It is very wrong to say that when Kenya has everything needed. If you compare the Kenyan squad that played against Mali, there's not much difference in terms of quality, because most of the players that played in the game are professional players playing outside the country, most of them in Europe, and for sure they are not in Europe by chance. They merit to be in those positions, and they really qualify to play for a national team. It's a matter of utilizing the players in the rightful positions, playing the rightful system that can give results. So I don't think we have any limit in terms of quality as compared to a team like Mali, because Mali has not played in the World Cup before, same as Kenya. And there are players in Mali perhaps who could want to be like Victor Wanyama, a very top player who has played at the top level in the Premier League. There are players who want to be like Wanyama in the Mali team. So you cannot say that we don't have quality.
Shilenje, then the question is, how do we sort out the problem? Because there seems that we have a problem with the coaches, I beg your pardon. We seem to be having a problem with coaches. How do we sort that out?
Maybe the federation needs to come out clear and say what problem they have, just to be specific, because the turnover of the coaches is too much. When you fire and hire, probably you cannot get results, because these players need stability, and to get stability they need a long-serving coach who can stay with them, who can mentor them, who can identify the right partnership between the players. But if you bring in coach on short-term contracts and fire them, they don't give clear reasons as to why they fired, like Ghost Mulei, for example, or Kimanzi. There are no clear indications or reasons why they did so. All they say is Kimanzi was at the helm when Kenya was highest ranked in FIFA at number 68, and I think maybe the federation needs to come out clearly and tell us really why is it having problems with the coaches, especially the local coaches. Why were they sacked in the first place, or why did they leave if it was a mutual agreement? What was the agreement? Why did they leave? Because we need stability in the team. A team like Germany has stayed with one coach for almost two decades. Yeah, and you can see the results. Even when they are losing, they stay with the coach. They keep their coach. They keep their faith in the coach, and the coach performs. But we cannot have a situation whereby we have short-term coaches, because every time you change the coach, he changes. He'll automatically change the squad. He'll change the players, and they don't gel.
Okay. I think this is one of those situations where I accept the phrase trust the process, although it is making us suffer at Arsenal, because the process is really hurting us big time. One closely guarded secret, in quotes, that probably our viewers don't know is you are a football player. You know, on the side, you play football. Maybe you can talk to us in terms of what do you think the what is the impact of changing coaches in terms of the morale of the players? How does that affect the team morale, the team gelling, and you know, the performance of the team generally?
I think, as I indicated earlier, there needs to be stability in the team. There needs to be a right partnership in the team, and this one appears when you have a squad that plays together for a long time. So when you change coaches, for instance, there was a player who had partnered with another one, let's say in a position like the defense, central defense. When you remove a player in such kind of position, possibly are going to create problems with the team, because the new player that comes in, before they create a good rapport to play together, to partner in the same position, it has to take a couple of games. And when you are playing at a higher level, like the World Cup qualifiers, those are games that you really don't gamble. You need to put your best side forward. You don't gamble with those games. So when you change coaches at that juncture, like let's say in the middle of a qualifier, you are bound to have problems. We talked the other time when they replaced Kimanzi with the Ghost Malay in the middle of African Cup of Nations qualifier. And you saw what happened. We lost to this team, Comoros. Yeah, it's very lowly ranked compared to Kenya. You cannot say anything to do with quality in such a kind of a game. It's really destabilizing the team. So as a player, when coaches are changed, a new coach will come in with new philosophy, with a new squad, and likely is bound to maybe to unsettle some players and maybe please others. So there is, before it takes a good settling, of course it will take time for the team to gel together, and that's why you can get those kind of results.
Okay. Now, Shilenje, stepping away from the 5-0 loss and 1-0 loss of the Harambee Stars, I know Tusker is looking at those losses and they're like, you know what, we can't relate, because Tusker has been on a winning streak, especially after clinching the Kenya Premier League title last season. They're now representing the country in the continental competition, that is the CAF Champions League. And the question going into the game that is going to be Kenya, that is Tusker versus Zamalek, that is going to be played at the Nyayo National Stadium. The question is, does the Robert Matano side have the enough oomph to go all the way against the Zamalek team?
For sure, that should be a very tall order for Tusker. Playing against Zamalek. These are 5-time champions for the African Champions League, a very experienced team. They are the champions of the Egyptian League. They are always in the Champions League, African Champions League, if not the Champions League. They play in the African Confederations Cup. And last season, yes, they were bundled out of the group stages. They've not had a very good performance for long, because the last cup they won was in 2002. But if you compare them man to man in terms of experience, they are well above Tusker, because Tusker played in 2012, the last time they played in the Champions League, and they were eliminated at the preliminary stages. So going into this game, Zamalek carry a lot of weight against Tusker. It is a very tall order for Tusker to eliminate them. But in football, they say everything is possible. Maybe on a good day, they can make a mistake and Tusker get a win against them. But it's going to be very hard for Tusker in terms of experience, in terms of preparations, because this team plays every season in the Champions League. And for Tusker, it's taking so long for them to be there. So you can see there is a lot of disparity between these two teams. And Tusker need to work very hard and perhaps be extremely lucky to get out of that tie.
Okay. Just to paint a picture to our viewers, in the last 5 matches, Tusker has won 3, lost 1, drawn 1. Zamalek has won 4 out of their 5 games and have drawn 1. That's just probably paints a picture in terms of the strength of the squad. Shilenje, Patrick Matasi is going to be playing at this particular game. He is one of the key players that are forming the basis of this conversation. Matasi is back into the Tusker team, and you also have the likes of Mushiri in the Tusker squad. How do you think that is going to change dynamic? Does it look like it's going to change the scale in either side?
I don't think it changes a lot, because for a player like Matasi, he's coming back from a very long-term injury. He's not been playing for long. So possibly you'll expect him he needs some couple of matches before he can catch up with his best form. And for Tusker, I think they made some mistake after winning the Premier League, because they released a lot of players. They lost many of the key players that helped them to win the Premier League. And now they have 11 new players. This is something that has been a problem to the Kenyan teams. When you sign in 11 players, that is a full team. So how do you gel these players in the team? It means you are beginning from scratch again, because these are new players who have not been in this team. They were playing in different structures and philosophies, but now you bring them together. They're now going for an international duty, continental duty, against giants like Zamalek. Perhaps most of them don't have that continental experience. It's going to be very hard work for them to really adapt into that game, barring that there are so many factors that put the disparity between Tusker and Zamalek. So I think Tusker will catch up maybe as the season progresses, because the first game of the Premier League they lost to FC Leopards, FC who had a depleted squad. So I feel like Tusker went a bit wrong in releasing so many players that help them to win the Premier League, and they're going to have it rough maybe in the beginning matches of this season's FKF Premier League. Okay.
Shilenje, as we wrap up this conversation on African football, the other major game that is going to be played this week is going to be Mamelodi Sundowns versus Maniema Union. Just before the season started, Motsepe was elected as the CAF president, and he is the owner of Mamelodi Sundowns. How do you fancy the performance of the squad, very quickly as we wrap up this conversation, this season in the CAF Champions League and in the South African League?
I think for Mamelodi, they've been very stable in the past about 7 to 8 seasons. They've won the Champions League once, and they've also won multiple PSL league in South Africa. And they're really doing good. They are stable in terms of their team, organization, their finances, and everything around the team organization. They're very stable. I really expect them to perform better this season. No doubt they are going to win the tie. They will be in the group stages, and I really hope that they are going to play in the quarterfinals. And maybe from there, that is a different story. But I know at the moment, Mamelodi Sundowns are doing very good, and I expect them to continue the same way in the African Champions League. Okay.
Very quickly, Shilenje, Tusker versus Zamalek. Give us your scoreline prediction.
I feel 1-0 in favor of Zamalek.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So next week we are going to be here again to put the scoreline of this weekend's game against what our African football analyst, that is Erick Shilenje, has given the tie that is going to be played this weekend. Away from matters African football, time for us to switch gears into the sports fact segment of the show. And today we are going to be talking about the just concluded UEFA Nations League, where France were crowned the second champions. Remember the first UEFA Nations League, Portugal were the first winners of that particular competitions. Now the following are just some of the things that you needed to understand about the UEFA Nation Leagues. Now the 55 nations are split into 4 leagues. The strongest nations are in League A and the weakest in League D. The other thing that you need to understand about the UEFA Nations League, Portugal won the first UEFA Nations League trophy, beating Netherlands 1-0 in the final in June 2019. Now the winners of each group in leagues B, C, and D move up, while the nations bottom of leagues A and B drop down for the next edition of the Nations League. Now, last but not least, the Nations League was created to largely replace much aligned international friendlies in the calendar. And finally, good performances in the Nations League can also help teams to secure qualifications for major tournaments. And that's what you needed to understand about the UEFA Nations League. We take a short commercial break, but after the break I'm going to giving you some of the numbers with regards to the UEFA Nations League. Just how much did the winning team, that is France and Spain, take home at the end of this year's tournament? See you after the break.